Hello, hello, hello. Today we're looking at types of employment, so let's get into it. The first one is frictional. Then we have seasonal, cyclical, and structural. Let's start with frictional. Frictional is the easy one. You're in between jobs. And basically, as I noticed from university, the richer you are, the longer you can wait. I knew someone that waited 2 years before they got a job in law. This isn't considered a serious problem in the economy. You're just between jobs. You'll get there. It's just about finding a job that matches your skills. We can see from this graph, towards 2023, there was loads more job postings than there were before. And hopefully this should help out the frictionally unemployed. Now, structural unemployment. This is the big one. This man does not look happy, does he? Structural unemployment is the curse of many countries. New tech, new production processes evolve, and the old methods of production are no longer needed. Think about a person that makes CDs, and they're great at making CDs, and now MP3s have come out. So jobs based on what people want are being consistently created and destroyed. Skills can become useless. And other issues like geographical immobility, where the train lines aren't developed, or occupational mobility, where it's hard to change between sectors of jobs. All these barriers exist to stop people from being able to easily change their jobs. So really, they're going to have to take time to level up, take time to retrain, and take time to find a new career. Here's an example. A lot of employment shifts overseas, particularly manual labour. This is a factory in Sheffield that's shut down, that's no longer usable. The types of products they used to produce are no longer produced in England. They're produced abroad. There might be new practices that come out, new high-tech chips like we see in Taiwan, and the old production processes are now obsolete. Saying that, some of them can be moved to like the Philippines, where they produce mid-level tech, which is still kind of useful. Think about toasters and air fryers and whatnot. Geographical immobility. How easy is it for you to move around the country or move to different countries to use your skill sets? There are other reasons why structural unemployment can exist. Can you think of any? A key one is resources being exhausted. What if you're known for producing coal and the coal mines no longer have any? A loss of comparative advantage. Maybe other countries now have less sacrifices when it comes to producing those products. Outsourcing, like we said, and the longer time of retraining. With ChatGPT on the rise, loads of people are worried about structural unemployment. It's pushing out everybody, from lawyers to accountants. So let's see what happens in the future. And technological employment comes up in the exam sometimes, and it is a part of structural unemployment. Just the idea that machines, capital, are taking over human labor, and that's making people obsolete, essentially. Unless you're a high-end engineer. But one engineer and one good machine might be able to do the job of 20 people. So here's a discussion task. What can Sarah do to get out of this situation with her structural unemployment? Well, there's a few things she can do, right? She can start with a new company that will invest in retraining her. But the competition's super high for that kind of stuff. She can take free or paid courses to train herself. She can decide to move around to different cities or countries. She can start from the beginning and intern somewhere. Try and find a similar role in manufacture or at some point of the process. Or she can chill out, go to the job centre, claim benefits and look for a job. Loads of things she can do. Now, cyclical unemployment. This is the big boy. This is all about booms and recessions in the world. If global economies have no demand, so no one's interested in your country's products, demand has reduced, right? Which means companies need to lay off workers and lower prices. This means in your country there's going to be loads of factories that are not filled, and there's going to be loads of people unemployed looking for work. This means A would shift to B, so we would be inside the PPF. We could only produce this limited amount of capital and consumer goods. And when the economy's on the upturn again, we can get people in employment, we can get factories opened, and we can get all the way to this line, anywhere on this line, where we can produce to our maximum potential in our whole country. So yeah, cyclical unemployment's pretty serious. And this graph just shows the ups and downs of an economy. Generally, our total production over the years increases. Our GDP always goes up in long run bouts. However, it goes up in this way and it goes down in this way. It's not a perfect straight line, okay? So this is periods of growth where we have lots of people working, lots of jobs and factories filling up. And then we have our economic decline where we have a bit of a recession and we've got less people working and more factories closed. And then we have a boom again. And all in the middle of all this is technological advancement and an increase in GDP over time. This is just the natural state of the economy every 20 years or so. Finally, seasonal unemployment. I think this one's pretty self-explanatory. You work at different times of the year. Thailand has a tourist season. Farms have a season where you need to pick the crops. So you work at different times or different intervals during the year. So pause this video, have a look at these 5 scenarios and try to work out which scenario fits into which type of unemployment. Okay, so the first one we know. Structural, of course. They're out of the job. They're not producing what the market wants anymore. The market has Netflix now. An English teacher is out of work because she decided to quit her job to find a better one. She's in between jobs. So she is frictionally unemployed. A German man's been replaced by ChatGPT. What is going on in the world? Technological/structural unemployment. Hope you got that one. A wine merchant. Oh no, there's a big recession. What are we looking at there? Cyclical. And a ski instructor works throughout the year, sometimes unemployed. Seasonal. Pretty chill. Right. Now let's look at a case study of unemployment.
After serving in the Navy for 8 years, Jack Morgan is charting a new course. He now wants to switch careers into the tech sector, but it hasn't been easy.
It takes a bit
Switching from the military to tech. What's that? Should be frictional depending on how long it lasts.
of a toll to keep going and getting back up at it again, because you put a lot of effort into those applications. So yeah, it can be disheartening.
Tech companies across the world have sacked more than 200,000 workers since the year began. Despite that, Jack is determined to find a role he's passionate about.
I probably won't be giving up on the search into tech sales. I've set my mind on it now, and I don't normally give up once I put my mind to something.
Unemployment rose to 3.7% in October, despite the creation of 55,000 jobs. That's because the number of people currently working or actively looking for a job rose, pushing the participation rate back to a record high.
So do you remember the participation rate? This is good news. More than 2/3 of people of working age are actually willing to work. But I see these numbers as kind of low, to be honest. What is that other 1/3 doing?
And most of the roles created were part-time.
So part-time is the new future. This is the gig economy.
And the competition for roles is really heating up, with the number of job ads on Seek falling by nearly 20% over the past year. Hospitality, retail, and admin are the industries where opportunities have dried up the most. And that is making the job hunt more difficult for Reese Gard, who published his first crime fiction novel a few months ago.
A lot of other tech companies or particular clients are sort of moving things either offshore or they're, engaging ChatGPT. So as a freelance copywriter, it's definitely getting harder.
Apart from concerns that artificial intelligence could take over his job, there aren't many opportunities for copywriters in regional New South Wales, where he's based.
What type of unemployment is this? Being pushed out by ChatGPT? Structural unemployment, or technological, as we might say.
Unfortunately, freelance work with a lot of other things is drying up. So it's really important that I now go back to trying to find full-time work, basically to keep the wolf from the door.
Some of Australia's biggest employers are laying off staff. Major accounting firms EY and PwC have culled more than 550 workers in November, while Commonwealth Bank cut another 192 staff in October, which takes the total number of job losses across the major banks to more than 2,000 over the past year.
These big accounting firms are cutting jobs. What does that imply? Let's assume that it's not based on AI. It could imply cyclical unemployment. If the economy is not doing well and there's less businesses to prepare accounts for, then it's less necessary, isn't it? So they get rid of staff. So yeah, lots going on in Australia right now. So if we have a look at Jack, he had frictional unemployment. If we assume it's AI with accounting, it will be structural. If it's not AI based, it might be cyclical, as stated here. And we see the rise of the gig economy. Really, really interesting what's going on in Australia right now. So now, this is the big question, okay? And this comes up a lot in the exams. You're a government. You've got to try and counter each one of these types of unemployment. Can you pause the video and think about what you will do for each one? So cyclical then. We have a recession, don't we? How do we pull ourselves out of the recession? We increase government spending and reduce taxation. This is known as expansionary fiscal policy. This will lead to more spending, which creates more jobs, which then creates a positive cycle in society of more spending, more jobs, more business profit, more employment. Yes, it might create inflation, which conflicts with employment, but that's fine. Next, structural unemployment. This is a tougher one, right? And it takes a real harsh hand, like Margaret Thatcher did back in the day in the UK, when she cut funding to the mines. We need to get better occupational mobility. We need to make people able to move around the country more easily with good infrastructure, but we also need to retrain people. That might take 2 or 3 years, but it's worth it in the long run if they train skills that are useful. So these are some ideas for you. Next, frictional unemployment. We just need to make sure more businesses produce more adverts and those people that are looking for those jobs are able to see those adverts, right? So the government themselves can set up job seeker forums, which has already been done. And if we reduce the benefits to these people, they have a stronger incentive to find work faster, which is happening all across the world right now as governments tighten their purse strings. Seasonal, what can you really do with that? But you can try and make a law to bully firms to make them pay people in the off-season. But would that be technically legal or fair? It's hard to say, isn't it? But with teachers, we get paid on holidays, right? So it is possible. Sadly, though, it depends on the amount of value you bring to the organization. Moving forward, let's evaluate. There are some limitations of these policies that we need to know, like cyclical unemployment. Yes, we can use a reduction in tax and increase in government spending, but what are the trade-offs of that? We then have a lot of government debt. We've taken people that might have found a job in the private sector and put them in the public sector. We might have high unemployment, or the policy might not be effective. It might not actually create any extra income in the economy. And we know that there's a huge time lag from when this money comes in. And there's a big opportunity cost. What if you could build another hospital instead of employ people for jobs that might not be necessary? It's hard to say, right? Moving forward, let's have a look at the economic and social effects of unemployment in society. How does it impact society?
Something big had been taken away from me.
Bill Siegel was living the American dream with his family when he unexpectedly lost his job in 2008.
Not think that this was going to be a long, extended period of being without a job.
Unfortunately, weeks turned to months and months into years.
More and more over time, seeing that we would not be able to keep up with the ongoing bills of just living in the house.
He lost his home. Then he and his wife divorced.
I can't blame it all on the fact that I lost my job, but it was a very big last straw.
In the latest Pew Research Center survey, close to half of those unemployed 6 months or more say joblessness has strained family relations. Nearly 40% of the long-term unemployed report they have lost some self-respect while they have been out of work.
It got more difficult as time went on.
Dr. Robert Leahy, director of the American Institute for Cognitive Therapy, is seeing the incredible impact of long-term unemployment and how it affects every aspect of the individual's life.
People who are unemployed for a longer period of time do have a rougher time. They feel more hopeless, they feel more helpless, and realistically, they may have a harder time getting back into the workforce where they were before.
It has been 3 years since Bill Siegel lost his job. He's one of the 2 million Americans whose job search has outlasted their unemployment benefits. He currently lives alone in a small apartment, struggling to make ends meet.
I just want to be in a position where I'm not defining myself as someone who's looking for work and trying to pay the bills.
All right, so from this video, we can garner that there's a lot of negative effects for people that are unemployed or made to be unemployed with the kind of structural unemployment that we just saw. Okay, so it leads to lower living standards. It's in a smaller, cramped apartment. It leads to lower living standards. It's in a smaller, cramped apartment. It can lead to depression, a sense of worthlessness. You're not contributing to society and you're not able to provide for yourself and your family. You lose your skills over time as well. You've got to relearn, retrain. It can eventually lead to homelessness. It might lead to migration to larger cities if they have enough to put themselves up there. Sadly, it can lead to crime as well. Sadly, it can lead to crime as well. Some people consider crime when it gets that bad. There can be a long-term unemployment trap where you're unemployed for so long, employers won't touch you anymore. The government have a lot of pressure to subsidize these people, and sadly, it can increase the suicide rate, the death rate. That is if people base their entire existence on whether they are working for a living or not. So the social consequences are severe. Health, less medical care depending on where you live. The financial worries cause so much stress. As we saw, it broke up that family. In poorer countries, they might send children to work, which is really sad. And here is an old graph from Japan of the male suicide rate connected to the male unemployment rate. Very, very tragic and very, very sad. Next, can you ever think about the cost of the government? They've got to pay the money, right? They've got to pay the unemployment benefits. And as these people are not working, they're not paying tax. So the money the government receive is also going to be lower. This can lead to a budget deficit. The amount of money the government has available reduces significantly. What about the total cost to society? Lower GDP, high unemployment, and the output reduces. Look at the graph movement from H to I. It also can lead to social problems, more crime, political instability if unemployment is too high. It led to unrest in Germany, which is one of the reasons why there's an argument that Hitler rose to power. Quick questions for you. Pause the video. What type of unemployment is this? Bang, structural, move to another country. Next question. You finish university, you're looking for a new job. What is it? Bang, frictional. Next. There's a recession. That's all we need to know. So it's going to be cyclical. Bang. A ski instructor takes time off for the ski season. Seasonal. Chill. Exam question time. Identify 2 advantages to an economy if unemployment falls. So this is a 4-mark question, right? So you've got to say the advantage and explain it and do that 2 times. So pause the video and have a go at this. Let's have a look then. So firstly, we have an increase in GDP or economic output. More people employed, more contributions. Next, higher tax revenues. More people working, more people pay tax to the government. Next, government need to spend less on benefits, which means they have a bigger budget to spend on other things. Next, consumer confidence. People are happy about the economy. They're more willing to spend. They're more willing to prop up businesses. Social benefits. Better mental and physical health for the whole of society. Skill development as well. They're working. They're developing their skills. So there's lots of great things that you could have chosen for advantages to an economy when unemployment falls. All right, that's it from me. If you want any of my resources, just click the link down below. Have a great day and I'll see you again.